Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the 91 Box channel. My name is Jermaine Reeves, and we got to talk about something really interesting that just came out. We got new updated evidence about the Shroud of Turin. If you guys haven't heard about it, please go check it out online. But so you can get some details about this, but we're going to do a reaction video to a YouTube channel that I've been following for some time, Capturing Christianity. And my guy in the video, he's going to be talking about the latest article and things of that nature about the Shroud of Turin. But before we continue to watch this video, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. All right, so let's look into this video about the Shroud of Turin, and then I'll give you guys some of my thoughts in between as we watch this video.
To the 1st century. The data profiles were fully compatible with analogous measurements obtained on a linen sample whose dating, according to historical records, is 55 to 74 AD, found at Masada, Israel, Herod's famous fortress built on a limestone bedrock overlooking the Dead Sea. Reads the study published in the journal Heritage. Okay, so if you don't know, Heritage is a scientific journal. This is the actual article that is posted here. Anyone can go and find this and download it. It is free. You can just download it here. We're actually going to look at it in just a second. Title of the article is X-ray Dating of a Turin Shroud's Linen Sample. And so we can also see here that it was published in April of 2022. So this is not necessarily new information. Now, here's what the actual, we're going to skip to the conclusion, and we're actually going to use ChatGPT to help us break down the rest of the article because it's a lot of very technical scientific stuff. And I am not a scientist, so I'm going to use ChatGPT to help me understand and help you guys understand what's being said here. And actually, that's a really great use of ChatGPT if you didn't know. But here's the conclusion. This is what everyone is sort of getting all excited about. In particular, the WAXS analysis presented here for the natural aging of the cellulose in the linen of a TS Turin Shroud sample allows us to conclude that it is very probable that the Turin Shroud is a relic of about 20 centuries old, even if we only have European historical documentation for the last 7 centuries. Okay, very, very interesting stuff because this goes against the carbon dating. And then next they kind of talk about the carbon dating and how we basically need more people to do these sorts of X-ray tests. I cannot speak. All right, here is ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is actually going to help us break down the science so we can all understand it. And I tried to do it like sort of humorously and accessibly. So let's just start reading. All right, I said read.
Okay, so you listen to the article. So the Shroud of Turin, for some of you guys that don't know, just a brief little information. This is to be believed. Now I can't speak as well. The Shroud of Turin is the burial cloth of Jesus Christ. If you read in the gospel accounts, Jesus Christ, when he died, a tomb was purchased for him. I believe like a rich man purchased a tomb for him, a follower of his, and he carried his body to the tomb, and his body was wrapped up. Now, if I can remember, I was actually reading up on this. It's either somewhere in John or in Matthew, but Peter and the disciple whom Jesus loved had got to the tomb. The disciple that the one who Jesus loved, he reached the tomb before Peter. He stooped in and looked, but he didn't go in. But Peter followed right after him and zoomed right inside to the into the tomb. And once Peter went in, then the other disciple, he's not named, it's just the one who Jesus loved, comes in as well. Peter noticed so there's 2 types of linen cloth. The one that's wrapped using the one that is used to wrap Jesus' body, and then there's another one for his face. That one, the one for his face, is actually folded up and placed to the side. So this Shroud of Turin is believed to be the linen cloth that was on Jesus' face, and this is evidence that, you know, a lot of scientists go back and forth about, that potentially reveals like the person of Christ, that like, or like we have some evidence that we can go back to that, like, oh wow, Jesus is an actual real person, like Jesus Christ of the Bible. There was one video I had watched that talked about, I think it's from Michael Knowles from the Daily Wire. He talks about the way the image of Jesus Christ's face is on the actual cloth seems to the imprint is done by some type of high res light that imprints the face. And the Shroud of Turin, the old findings done by radiocarbon dating, which is a process to kind of determine how old certain things are by trying to find out how much carbon-14's in it. The 1988, I believe, research goes back to the 14th century. So even if, okay, at that time, 14th century, so they say it's not back in the 1st century, but it's back in the 14th century. But there was no technology at that time to like kind of like photo print a person's face with high res light. This like it's a mystery on how a person's face is on this cloth, but yet there's no technology that will be able to do it, and it's been preserved pretty well. But we get new information, new update on a new method, like an X-ray method, to verify the Shroud of Turin that we already have. That some say it's from the 14th century, but now we're getting new information that's saying it's probably older than that. So he's going through ChatGPT, and I want to hear what he says a little bit. I'm not going to play the whole video, but let's keep going.
The attached document, which is a PDF of the paper that I just showed you guys, provided 2-paragraph summary. The summary should be easy to read, humorous, and accessible. All right, the document is a detailed scientific exploration into dating the Shroud of Turin using a cutting-edge X-ray method. The authors delve into the structural degradation of the linen fibers, employing wide-angle X-ray scattering to determine the age of a sample taken from the shroud. Their findings suggest that the shroud is much older than the 14th century date proposed by the controversial 1988 radiocarbon test. Instead, they argue that the shroud is likely around 2,000 years old, aligning with Christian tradition, assuming it was stored under specific temperature and humidity conditions for centuries.
So there you see, that was something that I kind of mentioned. So we got the old method of carbon-14 dating, radioactive carbon-14 dating, and then this new wide-angle X-ray method, this recently new. I actually want to go and bring up, I was looking up, okay, why is the radiocarbon dating not reliable? So an Italian scientist by the name of Liberio Di Caro discussed his peer review findings based on an X-ray method of research used to determine the age of the shroud's fiber. Now, this is from the National Catholic Register. I'll try to provide the link of the website in the description below so you guys can go read it for yourself. So I want to go to a specific part. They asked him a question. This is, I think, an email interview. And they asked him a question about why he believes the 1988 findings of the carbon testing is unreliable. So the question they asked him, how accurate are the methods used compared to the carbon dating methods previously used, particularly the research used in 1988? And Decado, he replies, in 1988, carbon-14 dating, also called radiocarbon dating, a method of age determination that depends upon the decay of nitrogen of radiocarbon, of samples taken from the shroud by 3 separate laboratories, indicated that it should only be about 7 centuries old. That's what they had found. Therefore, according to the results of the radio dating, the shroud wouldn't be an authentic relic since it is from the medieval period. However, fabric samples are usually subject to all kinds of contamination, which cannot always be controlled and completely removed from the dated specimen. About half the volume of a natural fiber yarn is empty space, interstellar. I hope I'm saying that right. Interstellar space filled with air or something else between the fibers that compose it. All right, so I was kind of lost a little bit about interstellar space. Oh my god, I'm this tongue twister. I had looked up that word. I wanted to see what does it mean. Like, what are they talking about? Interstellar space. So, if you go to Google, and if you type in what is an interstellar space in chemistry, it brings up how do I even say this? Crystallography. In crystallography, interstellar sites, holes are voids or the empty space that exists between the packing of atoms, spheres, in the crystal structure. So that's kind of in crystallography. This is something that interstellar sites. It's like the space in between the atoms. So, with carbon dating, they're saying to preserve an item, there can be a lot of different contaminations that would affect the material of the subject. So, if you have a relic from a certain time period and it's transferred over centuries to another location and it's left in a spot and it's not properly contained, then it could take in all sorts of material that would pretty much contaminate the specimen, which would not give an accurate reading of the material that's within inside it. So if you have like a piece of cloth and it's clean, but then it gets transferred to another location, that location has mud, and the mud drippings get onto the cloth, then when the scientific test is done, now you're getting minerals from a certain time period in a different place that wasn't the original mineral or material from the other time period. So these are, how you handle your scientific experiments, how you transfer it, where it's placed, what temperature of the room or the containment that is in affects a relic, definitely from centuries old. But there's a way to preserve things. Let's see. So I wanted to pull up a picture of what this might look like. So I'll go on Google, interstellar space, and let me see if I can make it bigger. I'll exit that out, and then we'll say right here, over in this left corner where I'm moving my mouse, it's showing layers of like a room, and the interstellar space, there's like open space in between, and then there's other space under it. It's just like you see a layer. You have a 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layer, 4 layer, and sometimes things get in between those space that can affect the material, so you might not get an accurate reading. So I say all this to say, for this video, with this new wide angle X-ray method of finding out how old a material is. One of the things that I read, that like the difference between the carbon dating versus this method is that the carbon dating is a lot more destructive to the material. They take I think a larger chunk of it. I forgot how big, and you're basically taking pieces away from the original material, and it's a lot more harmful to it. Versus the wide angle X-ray testing, you can take a small piece of it that virtually barely anything, and then you can retest that same piece that you have to get even further and further into the material to really see how old the material is. So I think this is pretty cool. I'm gonna leave links for you guys for you to check it out and read it for yourself. There's a lot of scientific mumbo jumbo that is will take a lot of time for you guys to like go through, but those are my thoughts or findings, not my findings, but I think this is interesting. We're gonna come back to this. I'm still doing research on radiocarbon dating. This new method, the X-ray testing, wide angle X-ray testing, I'm going to look more into it. I think this is pretty cool. They're saying that it's actually the material actually goes back a lot further. It goes back into the 1st century, and they match other cloths from the 1st century to see if it lines up with the Shroud of Turin. So this is like really great, and this should be encouraging for you guys if you're a believer out there and you're wondering, is there any evidence? There's a lot of evidence out there, and one of the many evidence that we have is the Shroud of Turin. In fact, where you can, I think, go and see the Shroud of Turin, I believe is in Italy, Turin. Look it up. You guys can go check it out for yourselves. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about this. Do you think this is pretty cool? Does this help encourage your faith? Or for you, this isn't really that big of a deal? Let me know what you guys think. And I'll see you guys in the next video.